Admiral John Kirby. A critical evaluation of his tenure as Department of Defense spokesperson. Admiral John Kirby, a retired Rear Admiral in the United States Navy, currently serves as the spokesperson for the Department of Defense. His career spans decades of military service, including high-profile assignments as a public affairs officer and spokesperson for the Pentagon and the State Department. While his credentials showcase a career dedicated to serving America, his recent performances in public communication have drawn significant criticism, particularly for his handling sensitive issues like the Nord Stream pipeline incident. Background on Admiral John Kirby's service. Admiral Kirby's military career is notable for his specialization in public affairs. Rising through the ranks, he served as the Navy's Chief of Information, CHINFO, where he was responsible for shaping the Navy's narrative and public relations strategy. Following his retirement, Kirby transitioned to government roles, acting as the public voice for complex military and foreign policy matters. As the Department of Defense spokesperson, Kirby has faced numerous challenges, from addressing crises like the withdrawal from Afghanistan to articulating U.S. positions on the Russia-Ukraine conflict. His role has required him to balance operational secrecy with public accountability, a balance that critics argue he has failed to maintain. The Nord Stream pipeline incident, a major breach of transparency. One of Admiral Kirby's most glaring failures is his handling of the Nord Stream pipeline explosion, an event with profound geopolitical implications. The pipeline, critical for Germany's energy needs, was sabotaged in 2022. While the incident directly affected U.S. allies in Europe, the American public was met with evasive answers and a lack of transparency from the Department of Defense. As the Pentagon spokesperson, Admiral Kirby was expected to provide clear, truthful communication. Instead, his responses were marked by deflection and ambiguity. When pressed by journalists, Kirby avoided direct answers, leaving many to speculate whether the U.S. government had prior knowledge or involvement. This lack of accountability undermined public trust and damaged America's reputation as a reliable ally. Kirby earned an F in transparency by failing to disclose critical information or provide a coherent narrative. His unwillingness to confront the issue directly raises questions about his role in perpetuating deception at the highest levels of government. A pattern of deceptiveness. Admiral Kirby's failures regarding the Nord Stream incident are not isolated. His tenure has been plagued by instances where his statements have prioritized protecting institutional narratives over delivering truthful information. For example, during the chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan, Kirby repeatedly downplayed the disastrous consequences, painting a rosier picture than the on-the-ground reality supported. The rushed evacuation, which left American citizens and allies stranded, was characterized by conflicting reports and shifting narratives from the Pentagon, with Kirby at the forefront of these communications. In his role, Kirby's primary responsibility is to serve as a bridge between the Department of Defense and the American people, ensuring that critical decisions are explained clearly and honestly. However, his track record shows a consistent failure to meet this standard. By obfuscating the truth, Kirby has eroded public confidence in government institutions and fostered skepticism toward official statements. An overall grade. F. Admiral John Kirby's performance as the Department of Defense spokesperson deserves an overall grade of F. His inability to communicate clearly and truthfully about the Nord Stream pipeline incident and his broader evasiveness and spin have undermined his credibility and that of the institution he represents. 1. Transparency. Kirby has consistently failed to provide forthright answers on key issues, most notably the Nord Stream pipeline. His deflections have left Americans in the dark on matters of national and international importance. 2. Truthfulness. His statements often appear designed to protect institutional interests rather than to inform the public. Whether during the Afghanistan withdrawal or discussions of U.S. involvement in foreign conflicts, Kirby has prioritized narrative control over honesty. 3. Public trust. By failing to meet his communication responsibility, Kirby has contributed to the growing distrust in government institutions. The American people deserve spokespersons who prioritize truth and accountability, even when the answers are uncomfortable. Failures under Kirby's watch. Kirby's tenure reflects broader systemic issues within the Department of Defense's public communication strategy. While he may not bear sole responsibility for these failures, his role as the Pentagon's voice makes him a central figure in their perpetuation. Among these failures are the Afghanistan withdrawal. Kirby's reassurances during the withdrawal contradicted the reality of chaos, civilian casualties, and abandoned allies. Lack of accountability on Nord Stream. His refusal to address the pipeline explosion undermined U.S.-European relations and domestic trust. Mixed messaging on Ukraine. Kirby's handling of U.S. involvement in the Russia-Ukraine war has been marked by vague and inconsistent messaging, leaving Americans uncertain about the nation's strategy and goals. Conclusion: Admiral John Kirby's career reflects a lifetime of service, but his tenure as the Department of Defense spokesperson has been marred by significant failures. From the Nord Stream pipeline explosion to handling other crises, Kirby has repeatedly failed to provide the American people with truthful, transparent communication. The role of a spokesperson is not merely to protect institutional interests, but to serve as a conduit of information for the public. On this front, Admiral Kirby has failed unequivocally, earning him an F for his performance. Moving forward, it is imperative that the Department of Defense reassess its communication strategy and prioritize accountability to rebuild public trust.